I always wanted to make something stylized in 3D, so finally I started to follow Shia LaBeouf advice.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
So I planned 30 plus projects. It's all about nature, which I'm passionate about. And in this video I will show you all of the steps I made to get from this to this result. And step number 1 will be to create a trunk. Now we can control the length of a tree as well as other parameters. One thing to remember with SpeedTree is that you work from left to right. You start with the generation tab and move your way to the right side panels to control other parameters. To create a flat polygons at the beginning of the trunk, you can weld the ground using welding option. You can find it under the skin tab. You can also play around with the welding offset to make it wider. To make a trunk look more organic instead of a tube, you can add a displacement, either by using a noise option or importing your own height material. I used a height map created inside of Substance Designer. It's pretty basic. And then I imported those textures inside of SpeedTree. To make the trunk thinner at the end, you can use a radius curve. Point on the left is the beginning of the trunk, and the point on the right is the top of the trunk. So the curve you see reads as make the trunk fat at the start and the thinner at the end with a soft transition, which is a Bezier curve. To make the tree curved, magnet force can be used along with the direction force. Magnet attracts and direction sets the direction where trunk or branches should grow. And you can also stack those forces on top of each other. Next is branches. To add them, use an add option and choose big branches. In the Gen tab, there is a boundaries option to control where branches will start and end to grow. I have randomized frequency parameter to add more or less branches when I click randomization button, and here are some other changes I made for the big branches. I have also added another magnet force to attract only big branches. This is to make sure that big branches are curved in a certain direction from the main trunk. Final part of the big branches is to add little branches. I make them appear higher on the big branches using a boundaries first parameter option. Then I randomized their length as well as the start angle. To make branches face in the sky direction, use a negative gravity. For the leaves placement, I have added another layer of little branches, but I made them as spines only. This means that you can add as many as you want because this branch won't be visible with no polygons. You can also enable or disable spines visibility. There are two things I did differently from the previous steps. I changed generation mode as well as I have added gravity. To achieve the look I got, you need to add a positive gravity, or in other words, make spines face downward. You can also randomize gravity parameter so it doesn't look the same. Next is leaves. You can use this preset to get the look I got. And by default they will look something like this. To get the look from the tree I have shown, change children per node to 1, internode length to 1.5, spread to 1, and play around with the size and randomization. To create the leaf itself I used a Photoshop. Shape was done with a simple circle tool and the transform warp. Then I used a brush with a few color variations to give each leaf different color. After that I have created normal, opacity, subsurface amount and exported those textures into SpeedTree. To create a leaf mesh you need to use a cutout tool inside of SpeedTree. To add one you need to use the add option under the cutout menu, then click edit. And in the opened window you can create your cutout plane. Orange line with a dot will set a pivot for the leaf. You can also create high, mid and low poly meshes. To create another variation of a leaf, you can follow the same steps but for a new cutout. Now to apply the texture, you need to select the leaf node, then select the material tab and choose the material you have just imported. And if mesh option is set to any, this will tell SpeedTree to use any cutout variation of a leaf. To control it more, you can add the same material multiple times with different cutouts to control the weight of each leaf variation. To add some life to it, we have a wind option. You can use a wind wizard to create wind for you. However, you need to tweak settings to get the look you're after. I used game's algorithm, as well as these settings. Also keep in mind that wind settings need to be adjusted directly in Unreal to get the final look. And here's my export settings for Unreal Engine. And that's pretty much how the tree was made. Pretty much the same process goes for creating a grass. There's also a blending mesh, as I call it, which I created inside of Houdini, and I used it to scatter grass instances directly inside of Unreal Engine. I used a grid, a circle as an input geometry, then I did a boolean operation with a sphere being a cutter object, which was deformed using a mounting saw. Then I used a remesh node to give some polygons and added an edge damage node, and the noise height parameter will lift up the ground. To color the ground, I used a vertex colors, which was done using attribute color adjust swap. Then I selected faces in positive Y direction with a group swap, and blast unseen bottom faces, and scatter points with a scatter align swap, and copied template cubes onto the ground, which will be replaced inside of the engine with actual instances. And that's pretty much how I done it. If you like what you saw, consider giving this video a like, subscribe, or maybe watch my other videos where I procedurally create cookies and other things. See you there.
Just do it. Make your dreams come true. Do it. Nothing is impossible. Do it. Make your dreams come true. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.